Alright. It's this right here. So we have some PBE changes happening for next patch. And Riot is cooking something on certain champions. So some of these changes are outdated. Asel is slightly outdated. He is no longer getting the extra A range. His starter scaling on W distance is no longer getting nerfed. Also, the E change to summons is not just qualification, it's an actual gameplay change. Mid is also outdated. There's no change on the E CD level scaling. Alright, so let's read one by one. So base AD of Asel is going up by 3, but the attack range, even though they wanted to bring it up, is not going up. Okay, I'm glad they're not giving him more attack range. I think that would be pretty stupid. As for more base AD being up, I think Aurelion Sol's base AD is not too bad. Like, this is just gonna help less hitting and harassing, especially on like top lane. This is a bigger buff to top A, so okay, fine. Like 380 on a champ like this that primarily uses Q, honestly not that big of a deal. Honestly, like maybe you feel this first 5 levels. This is like kind of like an Orianna buff. However, Orianna uses the 480 she got this patch better than the 380 Aurelion Sol uses. Q. Cost no enforces a minimum cost equivalent to 1 second of channel time. This is implemented as consuming 1 second ward of mana immediately on cast and not applying the cost over time until after 1 second of channel time. Okay. This is a massive nerf. Holy. This is such a massive nerf to early game Aurelion Sol. Basically, if you guys don't know, when you watch someone like me play or you watch someone like Chovy play, we do tap Qs and we don't channel the Q for the whole second because that makes Q not really go on cooldown and you proc mana flow, scorch, and you do a lot of damage and you like have no mana cost. By making this be in the game, Aurelion Sol will no longer be able to just do tap Q, tap Q, tap Q all the time in lane the first 5 levels of the game, making his laning weaker, making him stack mana flow worse, making him do comet worse, and making him just use more mana in lane. Obviously, probably should have never been a thing in the first place, but this is a really big nerf because the champion already is not that good of a laner because people now know how to space well in and out, not like give you a full Q rotation. W cast range. Okay, so let's see what he's getting compensated buffs, right? Because this is a huge nerf and the free ADs does not make it up to be. So then we have W, and here he said that, what did he say about W? He started scaling on W, distance is no longer getting nerfed. Okay, so they wanted... Oh, okay, here, okay. So the base W range is going to be 300 up level 1, and as soon as you put points into the ability, it's going to go to 1900. Well, good news for Aurelion Sol players. Definitely W max second is better than E max second. So this is an ability you're going to max at second. So okay, your W is going to get outright a lot more range. Now this is definitely a buff, but it's only a buff in situations where, I don't know, you're walking out of base to use it for travel, or maybe you have a fight where you can actually just run down somebody like fully. Okay, I don't think this type of buff is going to be that impactful in a lot of cases, but it will have some impact for sure. And then the starter scaling is gonna stay at 7.5. Okay, so it's not 6.5. So okay, W is getting a range increase. It's pretty much what we have here. Okay, cool. Then we have E. Cost is going down to 80 at all ranks, so E is gonna be more spammable, but this doesn't really matter. Okay, this change is irrelevant. Aurelion Sol only struggles with mana in early game. We're talking about first 10 levels approximately. Because you max E's last, this change literally has no gameplay impact. Aurelion Sol, when he's like at level 14 and 15, this is when he starts putting points into E. It doesn't matter, at that point he's not struggling with mana, even if he has no mana items in the build. So this change is absolutely irrelevant and does nothing. This is only going to buff Aurelion Sol players in silver and gold who manage mana poorly. Summon minions are no longer reduced to 0 speed. Okay, this is going to absolutely ruin the champion too. This is another, like, so basically, like, so far what I'm reading is Aurelion Sol is going to get way worse in high elo, and honestly, not that impactful in low elo. The nerfs, like, the changes are not going to impact him a lot in low elo. Like, this is such a big nerf, because what this does, chat, is it makes it so it's going to be way harder to last hit. It's going to be way harder to compile all minions. It's going to and basically you can't use E in front of tower and make enemy minions not walk into their tower anymore. Because what was really broken... Oh wait, this is only summon minions? Oh wait, okay, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, it's only summon minions. Okay, never mind. I'm reading this wrong. Forget everything I said. So this is like what? Annie Tibers. This is Yorick. This is... whatever else we have in the game. Hammer Towers. Okay. I think the biggest impact here is Annie matchup probably, right? And Malzahar, yeah, but Malzahar, the thing is, Malzahar wardings die instantly anyway. I don't think it matters that much for Malzahar. But I think this matters a lot in any matchup, because what happens in any matchup in high is at level 6 and usually ults you, and then you can use E on her, and then the T-Burst gets stuck at one place, and then the T-Burst doesn't damage you, and you can like outrun the T-Burst away. Okay, so far I would say irrelevant change, irrelevant buff, very small buff, very big nerf, very small buff, and then we have damage on R. Base damage will go up by 50. Ooh, okay. And then the AP scaling is gonna go up by 10% as well. R2 impact modifier is unchanged, and R2 shockwave modifier is 0.85. What? What? So the shockwave is worse at every time? If I'm reading this correctly? If I'm reading this correctly, the shockwave will always do less damage, but the base R, so the normal R, is gonna do like, is gonna do normal damage. I find that really weird, personally, but okay. I mean, 50 damage on R. I don't think it does that a lot. That's not a lot of damage, guys, in League of Legends these days. Like 50 rank 1, and then like, what, 72 and 100 rank 3, and I don't think that's that big of a buff. It is a buff, though. Okay, I mean, honestly, like, I think Asel's gonna be fine. So the reason why I thought Asel would be completely ruined is because I thought this change right here was normal minions, but it isn't. And then for Q, I mean, yeah, okay, so I think it's gonna be roughly the same. I don't think the champ is gonna be dead or anything like that. Aurora Q recast now notes it's 0.5 damage to minions and also applies to monsters. Oh, okay, interesting. Hecarim growth, health growth up by 7. Post mitigation healing up by 5, duration down by 1, cooldown down by 2 seconds. So Hecarim W does not go down by cooldown anymore, so maybe you max E on Hecarim second. And then E cooldown is gonna go 20 to 16. Oh, okay, yeah, you definitely wanna max Q and then E second. Alright, I would say small Hecarim buffs, not much to say here, small Hecarim buffs. Jace, E knockback. Nothing really here to see. Lilia. Pass your heal modifier beyond first target, 0.15. E damage, base 70 to 170 to 60 to 160. AP scaling 10% down. Wow, okay. Lilia getting some impactful nerfs here for sure. This is going to for sure impact her. Most of her damage is still from like stuff like Lianji and Dots and Q and Passive. But you know what I'm really happy about Lilia is this right here. Like they're finally nerfing the passive healing. I get so frustrated inside because oftentimes you play against Lilia and you're fighting her in jungle, and she hits a jungle camp, and her fucking Pat and her passive are just healing her for no reason while she's in combat. Makes no sense. God bless. Obviously, this number is way too high. It should have never been that high. That was because there was a point in time where Riot like giga nerfed Lilia out of pro play, and they made her so weak that like Riot kept buffing this passive, so like low elo plaps could like, because they can't kite camps correctly, they would be able to jungle with her and survive in jungle. And now we're like, I don't know how many years later, and Lilia is actually good as a champion, and this number is still way too high, right? So okay, Melia, no changes are outdated. What did it say? The E change on level is outdated. Okay. Passive burst damage, ally total AD scaling, 15 at all levels to 7 to 15. Wow. Okay. Early game nerf for Lilia Pasu, Emilio Pasu. And Melia Pass already got Giga nerfed when the champion got released, and it was Giga broken. They already nerfed it once back then. Burn base damage 15 to 50 to 10 to 50. Okay, so the Pasu is just losing a lot of damage. I don't really mind this because Melia Pasu is unskilled. But then again, when I think about like Melia as a champion, like what? Are you gonna keep buffing the Q? The Q is already like Giga high damage nowadays, so I don't know. Q range goes up by 200. Wow. Why? No idea why this ability has such a high range. It's so random. Cooldown down by 10. I totally got this. They obviously need to do some compensation buffs here because this change is going to hurt Melia a lot early game. I think Q being more spammable is okay. I don't really understand why the range is going up. Hitting at least one enemy champion now refunds 50% of mana cost. Okay. So they're getting some mana here. Fine. Recast range on W from 700 to 3000. I don't really understand what this really does. Nothing really. And then the shield, base shield is going to go down by 15, and AP scaling is going up by 15%. And then the recharge timer is the same. Okay. Um, I think these are mostly nerfs unless you get like unless you get a really huge Q value with the cooldown being lower. These are mostly nerfs. There's not much to say, right? Like the shield is basically worse until you get a lot of AP, and then the passive is pretty much worse, and you get like a slightly better Q. Still classify this as nerfs. Nidalee, Cougar W damage, base, 60 to 200. So, okay, Nidalee is probably getting nerfed, I assume, here, right? Because in high elo, she's definitely a little bit OP. And a lot of other AP junglers got nerfed, so now she's even better. So, Cougar W damage, 60 to 210 to 55 to 190. That's the first nerf. Does Nidalee max W lash? She does, right? So it's only a 5 damage nerf throughout most of the game. AP scaling is 30%, unchanged, but it also now scales with bonus AD. No, Riot, don't bring AD Nidalee back. Please don't. No. Cougar E damage, base, loses so much damage. Wow, what? 35 damage nerf on an ability like that. AP scaling also nerfed, and then the AD scaling also up. No. Big thumbs down. If it was up to me, I would just nerf her heal. I think the heal on Nidalee is way too OP these days. I think Riot has overbuffed the heal completely. I would pretty much just revert the heal buff. I don't know why they do this. The champ is legit gonna become worse than she was before the heal buff. Bonus or base? This is bonus AD scaling. But the thing is, like, I mean, sure, they're buffing top lane Nidalee a bit. I don't think top lane Nidalee is gonna come back or anything like that. She's just an annoying laner with Triforce. But the reality is that, like, AP Nidalee is just getting a huge nerf here. Like, what? Especially the E. Like, the E is getting a huge nerf. Wow, like, this is so much damage loss. Rumble. Q base damage over 3 seconds. From 125, 185 to 80 to 180. Danger zone is still 1.5x these values. What? They're just like giga nerfing Rumble Q? So they're giga nerfing Rumble Q. Okay. Rumble Q is still the same spell though at level 9, right? It's still the same spell at level 9, if I understand this correctly. It's just that level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4, and level 5, 7 is much worse. It's a big nerf early game. Basically, Rumble is no longer going to be this like huge lane bully until he hits level 9. Then when he's level 9, he's the same champion. Yeah, this is a very highly skewed nerf because it impacts early game nerf, right? Well, I never expected Riot to nerf Rumble. I thought they were just going to keep the champion like forever the same. This is probably just a pro play nerf. I mean, so far, listen, I liked seeing a lot of changes, and there's some changes here on some champions, but I fail to see how this is going to like move the needle in any direction. I think Asel is going to be roughly the same champion. I don't see Hakren being that much better. Yeah, sure, he's going to be better. Maybe 1% win rate, maybe. I don't know. Lilia, okay, deserved nerf, good. Media changes, I don't know. Champ getting nerf, fine. I think there's definitely more enchanters. Like, shouldn't we be nerfing Sona and Nami first before Melia? That's like what I would think. Nidalee, yeah, okay, sure, high elo nerf. Rumble, sure, high elo nerf. I hope there's more changes. I mean, there will be more changes in the patch, but these changes are so small. They're like, they're like +1 or -1% win rate for most of these champions.